16 governors back state police submit report to federal government. Uzodimma appoints brother as deputy chief of staff. Governor Oti signs into law bill cancelling pension for ex-Abia governors and deputies. On the foreign scene, US and EU ratchet up pressure on Israel over Gaza ceasefire. And in sports, North Korea-Japan World Cup qualifier called off. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Express on Global Television. We are live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodu. President Bola Tinubu has approved what he called a befitting burial for the 17 soldiers who were killed while on a peacekeeping mission in Delta State last week. This was as he approved the conferment of posthumous national honors on the slain soldiers. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, disclosed this in a statement. The president, while expressing his heartfelt condolences to the families of the bereaved, pledged that the sacrifices of the fallen heroes would never be in vain. 16 state governors have submitted reports expressing their support for the establishing state police to the National Economic Council. They also recommended changes to the constitution to allow for the creation of state police. The report were amongst documentations received at the 140th NEC meeting presided over by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. Special advisor to the Vice President on Media and Communications, Stanley Nwokocha, reviewed these in a statement. According to the statement, NEC is still awaiting reports from 20 states. It expressed confidence that others would support. The federal government has demanded that federal civil servants on study leave show evidence of approval obtained from the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation. This is as the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemiason, noted that the federal government has now put in place a mechanism for routine verification of workers in the service in order to ascertain their true location. This was made known in a memo addressed to all permanent secretaries in Abuja. The federal government had, in August 2021, raised the alarm over civil servants applying for study leave with admission letters obtained from suspicious foreign universities. Governor Hope Uzodimma of Imo State has approved the appointment of his brother, Ferdinand Uzodimma, as his deputy chief of staff in charge of general services. The governor also reappointed Cosmos Iwu as the secretary to the government, Nnamdi Anyuhe as his chief of staff, and Sydney Agbo as the deputy chief of staff in charge of operations. The three officials served in the same capacities in Uzodimma's first 4 years as governor. Also appointed are Patrick Ikeji as the deputy chief of staff in charge of administration, and Sam Nwabuesi named as the special advisor on program and policy implementation and monitoring. The Nigerian Senate has passed the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024. The Senate resolution followed its consideration of the report of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TETFund. The chairman of the committee, Senator Muntari Dandusei, presented the report during plenary. Kikelomo Kere has the details.
The core objective of the bill is to provide a legislative framework to support the establishment of Nigerian Education Loan Fund with a view to oversee the general administration of the management and disbursement of the loan to beneficiaries.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had last week written to the Senate and the House of Representatives seeking the repeal of the Student Loan Access to Higher Education Bill and to enact a new one. The bill, which scaled first, second and third reading in both plenary sittings, became law.
The Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TETFund on the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024, and approved as follows. Loan title as recommended, Number of clauses, clauses 1 to 36, as recommended. Interpretation, clause 37, as recommended. Short title, clause 38, as recommended. Schedules 1, as recommended. Explanatory memorandum, as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole?
On the repayment of the loans by beneficiaries, the bill stipulates that beneficiaries of the fund shall begin as soon as the beneficiaries become employed in any capacity. Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The National Association of Nigerian Students in Benin Republic assured Nigerian students in the West African country of a speedy completion of the investigative process into the activities of degree mills, which has led to the suspension of degree certificates from Benin Republic, Togo, and some other countries. The body, in a statement by its president, Ike Nafevo, also urged the students not to pay attention to purveyors of fake news, while stressing that fact that the degrees obtained from universities in the country are valid and legal. The Federal Ministry of Education had announced the suspension of degree certificates from some African countries following an investigative report by Daily Nigerian reporter Omar Audu. The Nigerian Senate has raised concerns over the growing threat posed by the menace of out-of-school children in Nigeria, calling for multi-sectoral interventions to tackle it. The upper chamber says the dangers posed to society by the growing number of out-of-school children is real, citing cases of banditry, kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, and other forms of violent crimes as manifestations. Lawmakers expressed their opinions as they debated a motion on the topic, compelling need to tackle the challenge of out-of-school children in Nigeria, sponsored by Senator Adebule Idiat Olurante from Lagos West. Kikelomo Okere has the rest of the story.
Adebule Idiat, representing Lagos West in our motion, says it has become worrisome, going by 2022 report of the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, that about 20 million Nigerian children are out of school, which represents 10% of the estimated Nigerian population of 200 million people, and also represents the highest number of the out-of-school children from any country globally.
That the social impacts of having about 20 million out-of-school children on the Nigerian state will include impediment to achieving some of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, especially Goal 4, which is to ensure inclusiveness and equitable quality of education and promotion of lifelong learning opportunities for all.
Making a contribution, former governor of Edo State, Senator Adams Oshomole, criticized state governors who claimed they could not afford the 50% counterpart fund to assess the UBE program.
It cannot be the truth that every governor can afford to buy the same bulletproof car. We can afford the same state-of-the-art government house, but we cannot afford to pay 50% subsidy to ensure that the child of the poor go to school.
Other senators contributed to the debate by calling on the government at all levels to urgently arrest the trend.
Those of us who will know the reasons, part of the reasons for banditry, will tell you that they are not educated. They don't have anything to do. Once their cows are taken away, they now engage in banditry.
In his remark, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says, since education is the bedrock of all good things in any society, government at all levels should ensure that no school-aged child stay out of school in Nigeria.
Take a cue from what I did when I was governor of Akwa Ibom State. I signed the Child Rights Bill into law and I enshrined a provision of 6 months imprisonment for any guardian or parents that allows a child of school age to roam around the streets, go into hawking or any other venture during school hours. And that way we had enforcers. We had special assistants to the governor on education monitoring, and they went around the state to search from local government to make sure that no child was left behind and no child was in a farm or was on the street or was selling newspapers during school hours. It was quite effective. And then we declared free and compulsory education in the state for all children of school ages, from primary school to senior secondary school, and opening it up to all Nigerian children who were residents in Akwa Ibom for 8 years.
Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
In the state governorship election, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has urged civil society organizations to engage with political parties and observe their primaries just as they engage with INEC and deploy observers to the main election conducted by the commission. Professor Yakubu Mahmood made this call while addressing CSOs at its first consultative meeting for the year in Abuja, adding that in doing so will further strengthen CSOs' advocacy for inclusivity for groups such as women, youths, and persons with disability that are underrepresented in elective offices at national and state level. Anthony Momodu has the details.
The INEC chairman urged media organizations to engage with political parties as well as their aspirants on a report on the primaries with the same diligence and depth they report the main elections conducted by INEC. INEC board further assures that the commission will continue to collaborate with the media on the activities of the electoral body.
Important reality in today's age of information technology is the spread of fake news and misinformation instantly and on a global scale. As I said on many occasions, INEC does not believe in censorship. The best antidote to fake news is greater openness and transparency. It is in furtherance of this policy that the Commission interfaces regularly with stakeholders through our regular consultative meetings. We appreciate our partnership with the media, and I want to reassure you that INEC will continue to work very closely indeed with you.
In a remark, the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Chris Izioguso, says the media will continue to uphold the sanctity of the ballot and safeguard the democratic aspiration of the citizens. He promised that the NUJ will continue to support INEC through accurate reportage of its activities to assist the electorate in making informed decisions.
Together, we must uphold the sanctity of the ballot box and safeguard democratic aspirations of our nation. It is hoped that our collective efforts would pave the way for a brighter, more prosperous future for all Nigerians.
The Independent National Electoral Commission says it will publish the personal particulars of the candidate in Form AC9 for the Edo State governorship election on the 31st of this month as required by law. For the Ondo governorship election scheduled for 16th of November 2024, Professor Yakubu said political parties are expected to commence the conduct of primaries in the next 2 weeks. Edikan Michael, Global TV News.
The Nigerian Senate has raised concerns over the growing threat posed by the menace of out-of-school children in Nigeria, calling for multi-sectoral interventions to tackle it. The upper chamber says the dangers posed to the society by the growing number of out-of-school children is real, citing cases of banditry, kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, and other forms of violent crimes as manifestations. Lawmakers expressed their opinions as they debate in motion on the topic, compelling need to tackle the challenge of out-of-school children in the Nigerian Senate. It was sponsored by Senator Adebuli Olarenti from the Lagos West. Kikelomo Okere has the details. And moving on, ahead of the Ondo State governorship election, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has urged civil society organizations to engage with political parties and observe their primaries just as they engage with INEC and deploy observers to main election conducted by the Commission. Professor Yakubu made this call while addressing CSOs at its first consultative meeting for the year in Abuja, adding that in doing so will further strengthen CSOs' advocacy for inclusivity for groups such as women, youths, and persons with disability that are underrepresented in elective offices at the national and state level. Global TV correspondent tells us more. In a strategic meeting with the CSOs, Professor Yakubu Mahmood urged them to submit their observation report, saying it is mandatory as one of the conditions for eligibility to observe future elections. He noted that going forward, the Commission will operate strictly on the policy of no observation report, no accreditation.
Parties will commence their primaries for the governorship election in the next 2 weeks. 16 political parties out of 19 have so far indicated interest in participating in the election. I urge civil society organizations to engage with political parties and observe their primaries just as we engage with INEC and deploy observers to the main election conducted by the Commission. By doing so, you will strengthen your advocacy, particularly for inclusivity for groups such as women, youth, and persons with disability that are underrepresented in elected offices at national and state level. I want to reassure you that INEC will continue to partner with civil society organizations. We appreciate the observations and recommendations contained in your election.
Responding on behalf of the CSOs, the Executive Director, Sustainable Gender Action Initiative, Mofiliat Fijabi, assures INEC of the commitment of CSOs to a smooth electioneering process. She added that the CSO will not relent in providing a voice for the voiceless in the society.
For an inclusive democratic process driven by the kind of election that we all work together to have in this country. And of course, the fact that civil society organizations already work with political parties would also strengthen its observation of primaries, leading to the emergence of candidates in elections.
The Commission, however, states that the forthcoming off-cycle governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states will hold as follows. The Edo governorship election to hold on Saturday, 21st September 2024, while that of Ondo State is scheduled for Saturday, 16 November 2024. Anthony Momodu reporting for Global Television News. You're watching News Express coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using our Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When News Express returns, Tinubu Airport may not get $3.2 million Army Aviation hangar. These and other stories coming right after this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. This is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of News Express. Thank you for staying with us. On the foreign scene, the United Nations Security Council is expected to vote as soon as Friday on a United States drafted resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza as the European Union called for a humanitarian pause, adding to the pressure on Israel to end its 5-month-long bombardment of the Palestinian territory. Washington, Israel's staunchest ally, has been gradually hardening its tone following its early solid support for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his war in Gaza. The latest draft resolution marks a further toughening of Washington's approach amidst rising global condemnation of a war in which some 32,000 Palestinians have been killed. United Nations experts have also warned of an imminent famine as a result of Israel's blockade. Increasing global water scarcity is fueling more conflict and contributing to instability, the United Nations warns in a new report, which says access to clean water is critical to promoting peace. The United Nations World Water Development Report 2024, released on Friday, said 2.2 billion people worldwide have no access to clean drinking water, and 3.5 billion people lack access to safety-managed sanitation. Girls and women are the first victims of lack of water, said the report, published by the UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, especially in rural areas where they have the primary responsibility of collecting supplies. Spending several hours a day on fetching water, coupled with lack of safe sanitation, is a contributing factor to girls dropping out of school. United Nations agencies have long warned that not only are children and women at grave risk of thirst and starvation, but the lack of clean water also has disrupted medical treatment and hygiene. Russian missiles have struck Ukraine's Kharkiv, knocking out part of the city's power supply, a day after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made an urgent appeal to the West to deliver air defense systems. Kharkiv Mayor Terekov said that 15 blasts had been heard, with missiles causing partial blackouts and disabling the city's water pumps. There were no immediate reports of casualties. Ukrainian officials said Russian missiles had also hit Kryvyi Rih, which is Zelensky's hometown, and Vinnytsia, both in central Ukraine, damaging a critical infrastructure object in the latter city. Ukraine's state hydropower company stated that a Russian strike hit Ukraine's largest dam, but that there was no risk of a breach. In business, an Army aviation hangar worth $3.2 million is to be established at the newly renovated Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Airport in Minna. The coordinator, Nigerian Army Aviation Brigadier General Musa Al-Kali, told Niger State Governor Muhammad Umaru Bago during a courtesy call in Minna that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Airport in Minna passed all the checklists for the creation of the hangar and the approval of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria (FAN), as well as the Federal Ministry of Aviation. He said the construction of the hangar, which would be of immense economic benefit to the state, would commence in no distant future, adding that the Minna hangar, when completed, will have 12 attack helicopters MD-530 series, 10 TB2 UAVs, and 8 Magnus light attack aircraft for surveillance, reconnaissance and patrol, as well as other activities. He further stated that with the creation of the hangar in Minna, the delay associated with maintenance of aircraft would be eliminated, and the airlines with private jets can park them in Minna at minimum cost. Nyesom Wike, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, has approved the disbursement of 280.3 million naira in scholarships for 13,946 underprivileged students across all educational levels in the FCT. This announcement was made by Danlami Hayo, Mandate Secretary of the Education Secretariat for the FCT administration in Gwagwalada, at the event marking the rapid rehabilitation of 19 public schools across the Federal Capital Territory. The ceremony was held at the School of the Gifted in Gwagwalada Area Council within the Federal Capital Territory. The Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, has presented the FCT 2024 statutory budget proposal of 1.147 trillion naira to both the Senate and the House of Representative committees on the FCT. Making the presentation before the Senate committees, the FCT minister disclosed that the budget revenue sources would be made up of internally generated revenue IGR, infrastructure support fund, among others. Kikelomo Okere has the details.
The Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, noted that the total sum of fiscal framework comprises of proposed distributable revenue of over 510.3 billion naira and non-distributable revenue of 637,416 billion naira.
We have a fiscal framework of sum of 1 trillion 147,780,610,283 naira, comprising distributable revenue of 510.3 billion and non-distributable revenue of 637.4 billion.
Wike giving highlights of the FCT appropriation bill says 280 billion naira is earmarked for overhead, 726 billion naira for capital projects, and 140 billion naira for personnel, bringing the total budget to 1.147 trillion naira. It further highlighted some of the projects to be executed from 2024 FCT statutory budget proposal,
which has been proposed for the FCT 2024 statutory budget after due deliberations with all the revenue generating agencies of the FCT, also taking into consideration the parameters highlighted in paragraph 8 above. Now, when you compare the revised 2023 appropriation of the sum of 641 billion, there's an increase of the sum of 506 billion, which is 44%. In the 2024 statutory budget proposal. The increase is as a result of the expected loan from the commercial bank since we have exited from TSC in the sum of 500 billion.
Presenting the budget before the House of Representatives Committee on FCT, Wike listed some of the critical projects to be executed by FCT administration in 2024 statutory budget proposal, to include completion of roads B6, B12, construction of access road and car park for Abuja, light rail Dede, Gwagwa station, lot 5, full scope of development of area road from Northway Park to other Northern Express. He also said there will be provision of engineering infrastructure to Guzapi, provision of engineering infrastructure to Wuye district, extension of Inner Southern Express from Southern Way Park to Ring Road, full scope development of FCT Highway, among others.
It's important to note that the FCT statutory budget is mainly funded from 1%, from the deposit of the 1% of the 52.6% of the statutory allocation of the federal government that comes from the federation account, and also internally generated revenue and other sources as contained in the revenue fiscal framework.
Chairman of the House Committee on FCT, Honorable Aliu Betara, and other members of his committee assured the administration of their unwavering support, charging him to look at revenue generation and Area Council IGR. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
As we end Global News Express, let's take a look at our top stories. 16 governors back state police submit reports to federal government. Uzodimma has appointed brother as deputy chief of staff. Governor Oti has signed into law bill cancelling pension for ex-Abia governors and deputies. US-EU wrapped up pressure on Israel over Gaza ceasefire, and in sport, North Korea-Japan World Cup qualifier called off. That's it on News Express, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using Global TV NG and other handles now showing on the screen. I'm Anthony Momodi saying thank you for watching, and see you again.